am I just going to like freelance for the next 5 years and, see what happens? I can't really scale myself too much then. I could, get more bookings and increase my day rate very slightly. But I thought anything I do to help myself grow an audience is going to make whatever I want to do in 5 years a lot easier.
Hey Hatchlings, welcome to the Motion Hatch podcast. I'm your host, Hayley Akins. Hey Hatchlings, this is episode 59 of the Motion Hatch podcast, and today I'm joined by Ben Marriott. He is a freelance motion designer and YouTuber from Australia. We talked about how you can teach on YouTube and grow your motion design business. We also chatted about Instagram and how you don't need to post every day to grow your followers, and how to manage your social media without being stressed about it. So if you're interested in YouTube, I highly recommend that you check out our episode with Kelsey Brannan, aka Premier Gal. That's episode 43. You can find that at motionhatch.com/43. So let's get into this episode. Hey Ben, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hi, thank you, Hayley. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great to finally, speak to you. Been a motion hatchling for a long time, since at least episode 2. My friend Irene Filio was I think your second guest, and we were like really good friends, especially back when she was living in Sydney, and we were both illustrators trying to make it in the illustration game way before I even touched the keyframe. So it's great to finally be on.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm really, really impressed with your YouTube channel, so we're going to talk more about that. But first, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm a 2D motion designer, animator, illustrator. Yeah, I'm based in Sydney, and I'm a freelancer at the moment, and I started a YouTube channel just about 11 months ago, coming up to a year now, and where I just post YouTube motion design tutorials, animation tutorials, sort of, behind the scenes workthroughs and all of that.
It's like mainly tutorials about After Effects and stuff like that. Some of the is it like Animate, Adobe Animate and all of that kind of stuff? Like, do you want to explain a bit about the different types of content that you have on the channel? Yeah,
well, it's mainly like 2D animation and anything within that realm. And then, touching a little bit into design. And I've done a few tutorials about, AR and animating with AI, but they're very, on occasion when I think something interesting is happening. It's sort of new and exciting. I want to cover, but mainly it's what I'm really specialized at, which is 2D animation, mostly in After Effects, a little bit of cell animation, nothing 3D as of yet. Although I'm very tempted to delve into the dark arts of 3D, but I'm very nervous. It seems like it's going to be a lot more difficult.
I think, well, that could be good, because then if you're learning Cinema 4D or whatever, you can kind of tell people as you're learning, I guess, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
to learn extra stuff.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, I a couple of years ago, I kind of drew a line in the sand for no, I'll only be a 2D animator. I'll specialize in this. Otherwise, I'm just going to, struggle to be a 3D animator for years and years, and then eventually maybe catch up. And by that time, who knows what's happened? Who knows what's in 5D might be the new trend by that point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I just wanted to ask you, what attracted you to making educational content for motion designers?
It mainly started off, I was inspired by one of my friends, who's an illustrator here in Sydney. Her name's Shan. She goes by Faux Little Peach online, and we both started in illustration around the same time, maybe about 5 years ago. And we had a meeting, and over those 5 years, she's just blown up. She's got 200,000 followers on Instagram, and close to 160,000 on YouTube. And I just saw her doing all these awesome stuff. She had it seemed like lots of awesome opportunities that people were enjoying. And I thought, well, I wish I'd started something in order to build an audience. So I figured, well, am I just going to freelance for the next 5 years and, see what happens? I can't really scale myself too much then. I could, get more bookings and increase my day rate very slightly. But I thought anything I do to help myself grow an audience is going to make whatever I want to do in 5 years a lot more easier, because there'll be, less friction. Yeah, so it's kind of a hope all right, how do I, build something for the future that I can, cash in on eventually. And I thought, educational resources, that's, I think, the most value I can add at the moment is just, sharing what skills I have and what I've learned. So I thought, I'll try YouTube for a year. My plan was try it for a year and do fit. No, actually, it was 2 years. I said, I'll do 2 years and do 100 videos. That was my minimum. And, if it got to 10,000 subscribers at the end of the first year, I'll keep doing it. So that was sort of a limit I set myself, set up these sort of simple rules. I'll do this, and then hopefully that'll motivate me to, make it good and make it worthwhile, and, build something like that. So that was the intentions behind it, at the very least, is, build an audience that I could, and more people could see my work, because, we all want people to see our work. That's, that's part of being an artist, I guess. There's a bit of that vanity as well, like, see my work, it must be seen. I spent hours on this. Please look and appreciate me. To fulfill all of those needs, I thought YouTube would be the perfect platform for that.
I think it's really awesome. I think a lot of people would be scared, like, making a YouTube channel now, because it is quite saturated in a way, like compared to podcasting and stuff like that. There's a lot more YouTube channels about motion design and animation and stuff. So, like, when did you start your channel?
Well, the first video, well, I definitely thought the same thing. Like this, it's oversaturated. How am I going to stand out? But I started the channel first video came out on March of 2019. Not quite a year yet.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah. So, like,
Amazing.
I'm only, if anyone now that's listening starts a YouTube channel, like, tomorrow, I'm only, the only, like, 10 months behind me. Like, it's not, I'm blown away by how fast this is, taken off and become my main focus of my career now. So it's definitely not oversaturated at all by any means. You think of how many other niches on YouTube there are. Like, it's not like gaming and beauty are like, they are maybe oversaturated at the moment for people that wanted to get into that. But they've got, there's hundreds of people that have, over 1 million subscribers in both of those niches that are doing very well. There's plenty of room for more people. And it always seems like it's too late. But, I thought of, people 3 years ago thought it was too late, and they'll think it's too late in a few years from now. Eventually it might be too late, and maybe then don't invest in it. But until now, I still think, the sun's shining and there's plenty of opportunities on YouTube if you can, offer, valuable content.
I'm pretty impressed. Like, I thought you've been doing it since about 2018. I don't know why. I think it's because you've just kind of grown it so quickly. I know that you sent me a message saying that you listened to our podcast with Kelsey and you felt like that was also helpful.
Yes, definitely. That was very motivating. That was when I was probably a couple of months into it. And, like, just hearing someone else's advice, because she's a premiere gal on YouTube. She'd grown, her channel up to have a really big audience, and she's doing it similar to me at that point, just doing it on the side, doing, freelance work in the day, and then by night making some fun videos, just sharing what you've learned. And yeah, there's lots of, really good, like, insights and sort of tips that she shared. And mainly, it's not even the specific tips that I find, like, that's most valuable about, like, podcasts and guests. It's just hearing people that go through the same sort of issues and struggles, because it feels like when you get to motion design, like, most people get in and none of their friends are motion designers. And then you finally hear other motion designers speak. You're like, this is great. You talk about the same things that I do. I can't talk about the graph editor to my high school friends. They'll think I'm mad. And then hearing that is like, oh, I don't know anyone that's speaking about YouTube, but I'm interested in this. And, I had that same sort of feeling and, sort of connection. So that was really valuable. That's what I really enjoyed about that episode.
I just wanted to bring that up so that people can listen to that one as well, because I think if you're listening to this one now and it's interesting you, then that's a good one to look back at, and we'll put it in the show notes and everything. Yeah, I wanted to ask you as well. I saw on your website that you post on something that's called, like, Bill or something.
BillyBilly.
What's that all about?
I post on BillyBilly. BillyBilly is essentially the Chinese YouTube. Like, that's the equivalent over there, because YouTube is banned in China unless you have a VPN or can get over the Great Firewall. Yeah, so BillyBilly is it's essentially YouTube. So I translate my videos into Mandarin, and so they get Mandarin subtitles and upload them on there, because I thought, that's a huge market that is obviously underserved because they can't access most of the content, and because most of the content is the educational content for motion design is almost exclusively in English. So I thought like that could be a good avenue to try as well, and try to, grow in the background. That's like a little thing that, maybe in the future that'll take off, or, there'll be an audience there that, enjoys that stuff. So that's what BillyBilly is. And also they're pretty strict about, like, people, they don't believe who you are. There's a really strict verification process. So, like, I put it on the website, just like, look, no, you can go check my website. It says, it links to that account. It is definitely me. So that's why it says it specifically on my website.
Oh, right. Yeah. Because I was just really interested in what that was. I thought it was something like that, but I'd never actually seen it before. So you feel like that is something like, because you obviously don't have to do any extra work, mostly you're just posting the same content that you're posting on YouTube. So you just felt like, oh, that would be a good extra kind of thing to do.
Similar. The translating them into Mandarin takes a lot of time. That's a fair bit of extra effort. I mean, I don't do that. I don't speak Mandarin fluently. So it's not that much extra work, but I suppose, like, I think when you start adding up those things, like, oh, well, I'll post it to, I posted YouTube and Instagram, but then, oh, well, I should have posted LinkedIn and Facebook and, well, I've got to post a Tumblr and then Dribble and I need to crop it to a weird size to post on Dribble. Like all this stuff adds up. And then you've got to post it on Behance, of course, because that'll link with all your Adobe stuff. But yeah, I think you need to draw the line somewhere. And I'm like, so YouTube, Instagram, and BillyBilly. That's where I draw the line for me. That's where I can, post to get the most bang for my buck out of where I post it at the moment.
That's a really good thing to talk about, because I think this not only relates to YouTube, just posting our work in general. Did you test those places out? Like you tested, oh, am I getting the most engagement on Instagram, so I'm going to continue there? Did you test that against Twitter, or you just said, I'm just going to go for this because I think that's kind of where that will be most helpful?
Definitely. Well, I've kind of sort of dabbled in sort of all the platforms as they've come up over the last few years. So I experimented with, most of them over the few years. Like Tumblr was the first one I really got into. Back in the day, that was my biggest following probably 8 years ago when I was just doing illustrations. And then Instagram became more popular. And I still, automatically post all my Instagram stuff to Tumblr, just so it's like got this archive of all my art over the last 10 years that, I can look back on one day and see it all there. Unless they, close their servers down, then there'll be a big panic to download everything. But yeah, stuff like Dribble, that being like really like trendy and in, and like, oh, I should post on there. It'll be great. And it was very sort of exclusive and invite only, so it seemed very premiere. It was too much work to crop it to their, format, and then because the following isn't that much on there. So it's kind of like the rich get richer. Like the platforms where the stuff's doing well, I put more focus into that, which I think is kind of good. So that's, Instagram is where I had, the most audience when I started YouTube, and then YouTube's obviously taken off bigger than Instagram now. Those are the main two really, and I kind of try not to worry about the other ones. But I know they say TikTok is blowing up, so you should get on there. But also I struggle to think about what I could post that's relevant on there as well. And it just becomes, it takes up it'll fill up your whole day if you're trying to post the work that you've done. You'll have no time to actually make any work. That's how I think about it anyway.
It's pretty hard work doing this. And are you still doing freelance work and stuff at the moment, or are you mainly focusing on the YouTube channel?
I'm still doing like freelance stuff because, the YouTube isn't paying all of the bills at the moment, a percentage. And hopefully I'll try to make that, a big percentage, hopefully over the next couple of years. But yeah, still doing freelance every now and then when I need to. I've taken some time off January and February this year to only focus on YouTube and hopefully build up a back catalog of videos. So then if I do get booked for, a couple of weeks or a month, I don't have to stress about producing videos on top of that at the same time. Keeping freelance is, that's keeping the bills paid when they need to, but, slowly taper off the freelance and more so on the YouTube and that side of things. Don't think I'll ever stop. I'll still want to, always get my hands dirty, get back in the trenches and actually do some work.
Do you think that doing the YouTube channel and like having quite a big Instagram following is helping you to get more clients?
Yeah, it certainly helps. I think just having validation, like people can see it and they go, oh, well, lots of people follow him. He must be trustworthy at least. But it doesn't help anywhere as much as you might think. When, like, if my Instagram following doubled, I didn't get double the amount of client inquiries. Certainly not of quality ones. I get a lot more inquiries for people that want me to make YouTube intros for them for free. And, stuff like that, like a lot of people, because you just get more attention. It's more of a shotgun sort of approach of inquiry email to like, that there's a few from, studios that like, oh, that seems like good work that, would pay well. But then a lot of it's, fending off and shielding against no exposure. I don't want like, that's too low. That's not like, I get a few messages of like, I remember there's a clothing company in, I think it was in Jordan or Iraq that wanted me to do the graphics for them. And they asked how much would it cost. And I said, oh, that might take, half a day. That'll be maybe $350. And the response was like, did you mean 300? I have a £3 budget for this. I'm like, all right, okay. This is, you learn to quickly, ask the right questions in order to figure out whether the inquiries are, worth your time.
So you think more the YouTube stuff, especially with teaching and stuff like that, it sort of breeds more opportunity in the educational space rather than making more clients?
I think so. I think it's certainly, I have more inquiries from clients now, but it's certainly, I had 0 inquiries for educational stuff beforehand. And now I'm doing, some tutorials for some other companies as well. And I get approached a lot about, making tutorials for other people.
That's really interesting. I trying to like figure out how it helps people in different ways and just trying to educate people on it if they want to kind of move into that space. Because I think more and more there is more tutorials happening online and stuff like that. And I think there's a lot of like not very good stuff. It's nice to see when there's like a few people that are doing very good stuff, like yourself. And also my friend Matt Wilson has quite a nice YouTube channel, so put that in the show notes as well. So I like it when people really focus on quality, because I think from an outsider perspective, why yours has been quite successful is it seems like you put a lot of time into making like little Instagram stings and stuff, and it's sort of based on the title card for the video. Do you want to talk a bit about that? Because I think that's like really interesting.
My main focus that I thought what I could offer different to the other like YouTube channels that are doing the same content was to focus more on design. So I like find a lot of tutorials might be great information, but I thought maybe it might be hard for people to see how they could apply that to their own work if it's just, they're just working with an abstract, a square and how to move that. But if I make that, instead of a square, it's, a cactus with a funny face, and you could imagine it in a 2D motion design project. You can imagine it in a professional context. It might help people to say, oh, wow, I could actually, if I use this technique, I could make it look cool. I could have my own characters and build something like that. So that's what I've kind of tried to focus on more. And yeah, so I do, for every video, I make a little teaser sting to put out on Instagram to let people know the tutorial's out, here's where to get it. And that takes a reasonable amount of time. I've got it sort of templatized sort of now, so it's not too unbearable of the structure, but I have like, a few hours set aside for when a tutorial's done, like make all the social assets, go to this template. Here's what I need to make, 2 story posts and, 3 posts for a carousel and those types of things. And I need to make the thumbnail and then a thumbnail to go on Gumroad and, package the project files. And like, I have this, this big set of sort of admin tasks at the end of the project to sort of package everything ready. But I like to do that sort of ahead of time, and then that just goes put that into my big schedule. I have a big editorial calendar, which I think is probably the most useful thing I've found for having planned a strategy for posting on social media. I've got a big editorial calendar. It's a spreadsheet, and it just lists, all the next few months. Every day is a column. It highlights when I'm posting on social media. So on Instagram, I post on Thursdays and usually Mondays or Tuesdays. So the Thursday post is always about the tutorial that came out that day, and the Monday post is, normally just an illustration that I've done or something else on the side. I found structuring it like that, even though it seems a lot more sort of robotic and less sort of artistic and whimsical, and like, I think we all have this view that, we want Instagram and these places to be, like an extension of ourselves where we can be free and, we can just post our work and it'll be when we want and hopefully people love it. But I found structuring it more sort of robotically like a business and treating it like a business, like, here are my deadlines and here's what I need to post. It's maybe sort of care less about how posts are sort of received and, focusing on the attention and like how the people react to them. It's not like, I've spent 3 weeks on this illustration and you post it and, it doesn't get, the amount of attention that you might want for it. Whereas now I'm like, all right, well, posted that post. If it didn't go well, oh well, there's another post in 3 days. Let's have another shot at it. And I think sort of that consistency and, sort of structuring it has just sort of helped me sort of take a step back and realize like, it's not that big of a deal. If, something doesn't take off that well, there'll be more opportunities.
That's a really nice way to think about it. And also what I was thinking about there is a lot of people think that you need to post daily on Instagram to have like a large following, but you have quite a lot of followers on Instagram. So I think you have, what is it, like 35?
Yeah, it's right. Yeah, I think it's 35,000. But like, I would say if you do want a big following, post daily. You'll do a lot better. If I had, the discipline, I'd say if I had the time, but I do have the time. I don't have the discipline and willpower to post daily. I think it could grow a lot faster. Most of my Instagram following has just come off the back of the YouTube, really. I don't think a lot of it has come organically from Instagram. I'm sure like a little bit of it has, but I think a lot of it just, people subscribe on YouTube and my content's linked there. I link to my Instagram there, so people follow that. So I definitely think, if you really want to, go at Instagram and attack it hard, posting daily would be great. They say up to 5 times a day, and after that is too much. But I know no one in the motion design is making 5 things worthy of posting every day. Even like posting daily, I'm like, oh, what do I have to say every day? I don't think I have, I don't think I could post a tweet that has value every day. Like I can't think of a sentence that's, worth posting, let alone creating an artwork. But I do think people want to see, process. And if you can find a way to document your process and show that, I think and do that sort of attractively, so that it makes sense as a post. I think that's great. I'm still struggling to find that out myself, but I think that's definitely a better way to do it, because you can't post a 3-minute animation every day that you've worked on, but maybe you could post, a still of one scene every week up until you launch your project, and then a couple of sketches as a carousel or something. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure this out.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying, because what you've scheduled it out and you post like 3 times a week, I think that makes sense to me because it's all about consistency and like keeping the same consistency with Instagram as well and frequently, but it doesn't have to be every day. But if you're going to decide to do 3 times a week, you should just stick to that, I think, because that helps. Because then the people who are in your audience sort of see your posts on the same day and then know when it's coming almost. So then they're like more primed. I think that's for like all social media, and that's YouTube as well, isn't it? Like people need to know when they're getting the videos, and
Definitely, I
so they
completely
can kind of
agree.
expect it.
Yeah, like, and there's no pressure. I don't want people to think, oh, they have to be posting 3 times, once or twice or 3 times a week on Instagram. Otherwise, they're, not doing it properly. I think, you should post, like, there's no way to do it properly. I think you should figure out how much time you can spend and post things on. And you don't have to have that regular a schedule if you're not that vested in it. But if you can say, if you figure out, I can only post once every 2 weeks, just post once every 2 weeks. Try not to post, 5 times in one week and then, be dead for 3 months because people think, I wonder where they are. And I think we all have this idea of like, no, it'll be great. We'll hide away. We'll make some awesome artwork for 5 months. And people will be like, where are they? They must be working on something. And then there's a big reveal and you announce this big project that you've been working on and everyone praises it. And, that can happen and certainly does. But I think it'd be more valuable to post a weekly update of what you're doing and get people involved in the journey that way. That's certainly what I'd want to see anyway. But certainly consistency is the biggest factor in YouTube. That's another way that I thought I could stand out. I thought another reason I started was there was probably a period about 3 years ago when I was like, just really wanted to be, I just want to be the best motion designer ever. I'm like, this will be great. I'll be the best 2D animator. I'll just knuckle down. And I was reading, all the books and spending all my free time working on it. And then I'd realized, I knew it, but like, I'm never going to be the best. Like, no one's ever going to be the best. There's no definition of the best. There will never be a point where I'm satisfied with that. So I figured, well, I'm not going to be the best because there's people better than me already. And there's people younger than me that are hungrier than me. I can't win in this game, but I could be the best that makes a weekly video. There's animators better than me. Lots of animators better than me. Way more. But are they willing to sacrifice the time to put out a weekly video? I thought, wow, I thought I was right at the crossroads of, like willingness to post a tutorial weekly versus, that has the skill that people might find it interesting. So that was another motivating thing for the YouTube as well. And that consistency. I definitely think, people should dabble in making tutorials. Everyone should do it. I think there's more room for that. Spending all the time on one tutorial, doing them 8 months apart, might not get you the biggest following. I think even if people see, they might not watch all the videos you post, but if they can see you posting weekly, they're more likely to sign on to subscribe. And that's what I think. That's what I think's worked for me anyway.
That's what I hear from when we had Premiere Gal on the show and like all of the YouTubers that I listen to and like podcasters and everybody really is like, it's about having that consistency and just keep showing up, for the audience, because then they're going to like say, okay, yeah, I'll subscribe to Ben's channel because I know that he's going to make a good tutorial every week for me that I can learn some more stuff in After Effects. So it makes complete sense. On the front of like how long it takes you to make these tutorials, I'd love to know, like, can you walk us through that process? Because I think it's fascinating.
So the videos take between 10 and 20 hours on average. Some videos take a bit longer. Some of them where I'm, animating someone else's design. I like to spend a day just animating their work and then the next day making the tutorial about that. But I've gotten it to around sort of 12 hours at the moment. Last week I recorded 3.5 tutorials. Got to the finished level. So that's sort of at peak efficiency. But my process that I sort of discovered, the first tutorial I did I went about it the wrong way. The right way to do it that I found, I write a script that's almost word for word what I'm going to say ahead of time. I won't say it word for word. I'd kind of use it as an outline, but as long as I can get it out as a script, I have to write it on Evernote. I design and animate what I need to do beforehand as well. And then when I go to make it, some tutorials, I'm just building it from scratch. So I'll build it in After Effects. Other times I've, done the animation and then I'll, shy a few layers and delete some layers and only build a few pieces. And some of them I might, skip to a more completed comp every now and then, sort of like a cooking show. Like, here's one I prepared earlier. But I found the actual recording process, my first tutorial I did, that was the 10th time I recorded that tutorial and the 3rd time I've done an edit. So I'd edited twice before and then I thought, no, not good enough. I'll record another take and edit that again. The main problem was I was trying to record it live. I was trying to do it all in one take, remember what I was saying and build all these things. And then I realized I could just pause and edit that out. So now what I do is I have the script on one screen, After Effects recording, the screen in the middle. I'll read one line, say like, oh, and now we're going to add this shape layer. And while I'm doing that, I add the shape layer, then I pause, read the next line, and then do that. So my edits have about like 200 cuts in them, just because I'm just cutting out all these pauses. But it means that there's, as long as I don't move my mouse too much, like no one really cares if the cursor just skips around the screen. It's if I open up new windows and, or if I jump to a new comp, that's where it gets really confusing. But now I know, like, try to leave my mouse where it is. I can come back and edit over that. And then sometimes, I can move a line of dialogue over a different part of screen recording. I found recording cell animation more difficult because I recorded a bunch of cell animation tutorials last week, mainly because when I'm looking at my Wacom, I can't face my microphone. And so the audio skips all over the place and I can't speak clearly into the microphone while drawing off to the side, like in a detailed way. So that I found is a bit more of a difficult process. But then, it's not that bad. I just, record a sentence and then draw the thing and then, slip the audio track in the edit. But then, after I record it, I just edit it, just go through it one and just clip it out, mainly just focusing on the audio channel. And, once that makes sense, make sure all the audio lines up and then add some graphics, top and tail at the end. And, I have like a template that I have for this. Then it goes into my other process that I had mentioned before when I just make all the social media assets. But also one thing that I probably in that process that happens before even the script starts, when I have an idea for a tutorial, now I know to make sure that I can make an appealing thumbnail and an appealing title out of it. That's probably the single most important thing on YouTube is, obviously the content has to be good, but if there's no appealing thumbnail or title, no one will click on it and no one will see how good of a content it is. So there's something that I think like, this would be really valuable information. It's going to be hard for me to communicate in a title like the joys of organizing your project folder and stuff like that. Whereas, I found that more sensational, like, animate sick fire awesomely 5 minutes, like is going to get more clicks. Obviously, that's the far end of the spectrum and you want to find yourself somewhere in the middle where it's not too obnoxiously clickbaity, but also appealing. It's like, oh, that looks like something I'd want to learn. So I think that is my rough process for how YouTube goes. I think I've covered everything. Let me know if there's anything in particular you think.
Yeah, I was thinking about, do you do any sort of research on what might be popular? Like, are you searching, like, if anyone's covered it on another channel or like keyword research or anything like that?
I definitely look for what other people have covered. Because there was, like, recently I did some Spark AR tutorials. Like, one of them's taken off really well because I think now when people search for Spark AR, which is the platform for AR authoring for like Facebook Messenger and Instagram filters. And I just come up in the top 5 now. So I just get lots of views on that one every day. But that's not really what the channel's all about. So I'm like, I could make another one to cash in on that. And there was this trend of people doing the quizzes above their head, like which Disney princess are you and which Pokemon are you? And I thought I could do that. But then I realized all I'm doing is looking at someone else's tutorial and translating that because I don't know how to do any of this stuff. Even the Spark AR stuff I did, I'm like, people ask me like, hey, I have all these questions, my complicated expressions and rigs in Spark AR aren't working. Can you help me? I'm like, no, I know literally where my tutorial ends is where my knowledge ends. I learned just enough to communicate that. That I kind of don't really want to do. I don't want to add any tutorials that people have already covered in depth, really. I mean, I don't mind, there's a million different ways to do things. And I think there's value in that as well. So if anyone's watching who wants to make tutorials, I don't think be too afraid. Don't think that everything's covered because your opinion on something and your method of doing it, even if it's the same method as someone else, the way you communicate might get through to a different type of people easier. So there's definitely room for it for that. But I do a little bit of, if something's really like trending, I like to be on top of, what's the new things coming out, like Adobe Aero released that's their AR software. And I did a tutorial on that. Like I managed to get the tutorial out on my channel before it was out on the Adobe channel. I was very pleased with that because it just happened to come out like I have a free day today. I could make this, and that paid off. But I don't do too much keyword research and stuff. I try to figure out. I think I struggle more to come up with ideas that are going to be interesting first. Maybe I should do more of that. But all the most popular things is just expressions and cool effects, and a lot of it's VFX stuff in After Effects that gets really popular, and that's what's most searched for. But I don't think that's something that I'm all that great at covering, and that's pushes the boundaries of the channel a bit. But I don't know, maybe you'll see me in 2 weeks with like epic lightsaber tut, get it now. But
yeah.
but hopefully not. You'll notice.
Well, I think you've got quite a distinct style, and I think that helps. And you obviously know who your audience is and kind of what they're interested in. It feels like your channel has like a bit of a theme. Like I can sort of see what it's about. Apart from some of the outliers you said, and maybe the Spark AR stuff and things like that. But I wanted to talk to you a bit about like video sponsorship and stuff like that, because I noticed that you had Skillshare sponsor one of your videos. Can you tell us about like how people could go around about like monetizing their videos and that kind of thing?
Like there's two main ways you could like monetize on YouTube. There's AdSense, which is the main one, which is the ads you get before a video and sometimes in the middle of the video. Unless you're getting crazy amounts of views, that's not paying anyone's bills. It's not unsubstantial, but it's rare to live off that. And if you're getting enough to live off, you could be making way more money off sponsorship or probably selling merch. So yeah, sponsorship probably maybe equals probably a little bit more, maybe not quite twice as much income I get from sponsorships than I get from ad revenue. And both of these like fluctuate because the ad revenue is decided by how many views you get that month. And I might have 4 sponsored videos one month and then 1 sponsored video the next month. So it's hard to predict. It's still a bit unstable. Like mainly how they come about is, I think I posted 2 videos before I got someone asking me on YouTube to promote their plugin. And at that time I was like, oh, this is great. Yeah, I want to promote this thing. And then you realize they're asking me to make a 20-minute ad for them. And I would get, I think the deal was I'd get 10% off every sale of a $10 plugin that they had. So I'm like, if I convince 100 people to buy this, I make $10 off this. And that's not worth 30 hours of my time to make a hugely long tutorial. So you do have to figure out the difference, because some people, like the amount of money companies are willing to spend like varies enormously. Like I've had, for the same amount of work, I've been offered, like exposure and, 10% off a plugin. And then other companies will pay, like many thousands of dollars for like a 90-second ad read in the middle of, of your video. It kind of depends on that, because I have no idea about this stuff. Like when I was earlier in the YouTube stuff, I sort of agreed to a lot, lesser rates, because I'm like, because it doesn't take that much time and it's hard to transition into, I'm not selling what it takes my time to make this. I'm selling, the value to them, which is access to my audience. And I don't want to sell that short because, part of the main motivation of starting the channel was to, scale the business beyond just trading my time for money. So as my audience grows, as the views double, the ad revenue doubles, but, my work, hopefully stays around a similar level. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes about. Yeah, so I have a manager now that organizes that. So any sponsor inquiry, I'd forward it to them and they negotiate the deals. They approached me and said, hey, we can negotiate your deals for you for, a percentage fee, like any sort of agent works, like an illustration agent or like, a directing agent if you're directing animations. So they take, a percentage fee, but they can negotiate like an order of magnitude a higher fee than I'm able to negotiate. And I can hide behind an email and say, I'm a nice guy. I like, I like your product. I'm friendly. I want to work with you. And then the agent comes in and plays bad cop and says, but we want heaps of money. And I'm like, it's not me. I'm still a nice guy. I'm not demanding money because I'd feel bad. I couldn't demand that type of money for me to, to say a few things about Skillshare and stuff like that. But it's not like, don't think that, I don't want to paint the picture that I'm earning crazy YouTube money. That is not at all the case. Like still, it's not. It won't pay to keep my electricity on. It's starting to improve, and that's kind of how that works. And I'm still navigating those waters.
So at the moment, I think I looked yesterday. You have about 144,000 subscribers. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is a lot in some ways because you've done it so quickly. I didn't realize. I thought you'd been doing it for 2 years or something, and I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. That's awesome. But you've done it so quickly. But yeah, I didn't realize you had a manager to help you with that kind of stuff. That's great to know. Did they reach out to you? Did they do kind of help other YouTubers and stuff like that? Is that why you went with them?
Yes, definitely. That's all they do. All they do is they provide, they approach me. And at first I didn't know what they were asking, what this email was at first. Sure, I'll jump on a call to talk about this further. I thought they wanted to sponsor the channel. And they said, oh no, this is what we do. We do this. And they said, this is what you should be charged. They asked me, how much did you charge for sponsorship? And I was like, that one, I paid $500 for that one. And they said, no, that was wrong. You should not be charging that little. And I was like, this is great. This is all I want to hear. This is music to my ears. And then, because how their business operates is because they know all the rates, because Skillshare or Squarespace comes to them and say, hey, we've got $700,000 we want to spend over 3 months. And they know, where do we spend it? And they say, okay, well, we have, 300 clients. We can divide it up like this. You can get this rate for this much. So they know what people are charging. Because if a company was to come to me and if Audible came to me and like, I don't know what they charge for that type of thing, but because they've seen so much experience, they know how much they charge for what type of niches, what type of, and what viewers and what demographics, all of those types of things. So they have way more information than I do at my end. So that's, for me, worth the percentage that they take.
I think there's a website as well where you can put like your following or your YouTube channel on there, and it kind of gives you like a rough. I think Kelsey was talking about it, but I can't remember what it is called.
Social Blade. Like, Social Blade. You type in anyone.
Maybe. Oh, is there one? I think there might be one called Blue Book. I don't know.
Oh, there could be.
Yeah, I'll look it up and I'll put them in the show notes as well. So basically, you put your like channel on there, and I think it like can give you like a rough estimate, like based on how many subscribers.
Yes, that's right. That's Blue Book. Social Blade is for when you just want to see, if you want to see how much someone's making on YouTube, it gives you a bracket of like this person earns this much per year, and like the bracket is ridiculous. Like it's like you put in PewDiePie, and like so PewDiePie earns between $20,000 and $3 million a year. Like, well, that's not that's not helpful. It's like such a broad range. But yeah, if you ever I do that occasionally. Like, oh, they've got a big channel. How much are they making? Like, okay, that doesn't tell me anything.
No, I think, is it Blue Book then? Is that, have you heard of that?
That sounds familiar. I could not confirm that though.
Well, look it up and I'll put it in the show notes if ever anyone's interested, because I think I've heard that be mentioned quite a few times, just to kind of get like a kind of rough rate. But I mean, most people who are listening to this probably haven't started a YouTube channel yet, so maybe we're going.
But when you do, that link's ready for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And whatever you're thinking, you should double it, because you're worth it.
Yeah, that's what you should think with your just rates for clients as well. So,
exactly.
Yeah. Do you have like any other productivity hacks or anything like that you can give the audience? Because you seem like you do a lot of stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, really setting up a calendar and figuring out. I try to plan out my month at the beginning of a month, and then my week at the beginning of a week, or ideally, like on the Friday, I'll plan out the next week and say, all right, I kind of split my days into like halves. I have AM and PM. I have in my little book that I have, and I have like two tasks, like a main task I want to do in either in the morning and in the afternoon. So normally in the morning, I'd like to do more creative based tasks, and then more admin ones in the afternoon when I get tired and bored, because I find I work better in the morning. But yeah, and then I structure out like, well, when I try to structure out hour by hour, there's never enough buffer for all the crazy things that happen and get in the way. So I find, just two big blocks, a morning block and an afternoon block. I can put maximum of 3 things in there before it gets too much. And I just try to structure out like a realistically, well, I can't do 5 videos a week because that would require all of this time. And I think sort of time blocking, like just sort of imagine each task is 2 hours. Because one of my plans for the year is to start posting even more frequently on YouTube. So I planned out, well, if I wanted to post 2 videos a week, what would that take? And I'd like set out a month and sort of build out, well, is that even possible with how much time it takes? Because sometimes like people, I find like even I do, and like I think we all do, we think, oh, in our head, a week has, like 200 hours that you could possibly work in it. So I think if you can work out on paper, if you add your tasks and how much you think it'll take on paper, if it doesn't work on paper, it won't work in reality. So try to figure that out. And, things probably take twice as long as you think as well. So that's one thing I do, is try to plan out my time like that. And the editorial calendar for the social media has been a lifesaver. I wouldn't know what to do without that. So I just, I plug in, because some stuff I know, like, I know on Valentine's Day, I'll post some, love themed artwork. Like I know it's Chinese New Year is on Friday, on the 25th. So I've got a rat illustration ready to post. And once you start like slotting in, like, because I'm posting, twice a week on Instagram, I can already go ahead and slot in all what I have to make. So it takes less of the decision out of it, because I find, I think Dave Allen, who's the author behind getting stuff done, he said, like, the mind is good for like creating ideas, not for storing them. So I try to, get as much of my stuff in my head onto paper or onto a spreadsheet as quickly as possible. And that really helps me.
I think that's really awesome. I don't know if you'd be up for like sharing some sort of editorial calendar, or like we could do something together for the audience.
Yeah, definitely.
So that they could like download it and see what that looks like, because I think that could be really helpful.
Definitely, I can definitely do that. Like it's just a Google sheet. I'll make a blank one and just make it a read-only version, and we can link to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we'll do that. So you can, if you look on the show notes on the website, you'll be able to find that there. I wanted to ask you, because you said on your website that you've got your wife working with you now. Like,
yes.
What kind of things is she doing, and what made you decide to
Yeah,
get her
well,
to help you.
so she helps with my editing as well. So she'll do like the first pass of an edit. So I'll record a video and then she can go and cut out all the breaks and stuff like that. And she helps with managing sort of the social media. She's a copywriter, so she can come and she helps me come up with funny things to say and just keep me organized and in line for these types of things. And she translates all the videos into Mandarin as well, which is immensely helpful. So she sort of manages the East Asian wing of Ben Marriott Industries. Um, so we started that once the YouTube thing started taking off with because the idea was, well, ideally the goal is like in 3 years where, massive millionaire YouTubers just people are throwing money at us. That's the plan. And we thought,
All right.
well, we can wait for that to happen, or we could try to go as all in as we can at the moment and then hopefully make that happen sooner. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. And, it's going really well. I know one of the adages, you should never hire someone you can't fire. So it was very risky. Like, if this doesn't work out, this is going to, what do we do then? But it's honestly been so good so far. And really, we've both never been as motivated to work because we know all the hard work we do, we get all the benefit. We're not doing it for a boss that might not appreciate it or anything like that. All the success we get is related to the hard work. Everything, all the hard work we put in, we get all the payoff. It's not been it's been no dramas so far. It's been great.
Oh yeah. So was she doing some copywriting stuff before, or is she still doing that?
Yeah,
Is she just helping you?
Yeah, no, she mainly helping me really. So she does might do a little bit of that on the side as a freelance because she was doing that freelance back when the YouTube channel was starting, and just slowly sort of transitioned into that as there was I had more work for her to do, and I had more ambition to spend more time working on other things as well, and it just worked out.
Yeah, I just thought that was really interesting, so I wanted to ask you about it. So, what kind of plans have you got for the future of your YouTube channel, and what else you want to do in your career?
Shortish term of this year, I kind of don't want to say it out loud, but I'd love to do 2 videos a week at some point this year. I'd like to do that in March or April, but that's why I'm taking January and February off, from client work to this is my trial period. If I find that that's too much for me to do, you won't see that. Because at the moment, every 2 or 3 weeks, I'll post an extra video on a Monday. And I would, I'm thinking of a few ways to get that more regularly, and finding more content that's scalable, because it's hard to come up with an idea for a tutorial that hasn't been done to death and then design something and animate it to make it good quality. I won't be able to do that twice a week. So it'd be more things like live streams, which I did my first live stream a couple of weeks ago. I think at the end, I think it was on Christmas Eve, the day before Christmas Eve, I did one. And so I'd like to do one of those monthly, and then do maybe a monthly motion design critique where people submit their work. And then, I go through the project file for 10 minutes and say hey, here's some awesome stuff. You can make this even better. Things like that I'd like to get more of. I think I'd like to talk a bit more about less sort of tutorials and more just about motion design, the industry insights and businessy things where it's, just me talking to a camera for a while. Because then I don't have to animate anything for that video. I just need to write the script and, speak it to camera and that type of thing. And I have got a big project called Project Manticore. I'm calling it Project Manticore 2020 because I will hopefully be doing one every year. And that is, I can't say much about that, but it's a big collaboration project. And I'm working with some, reach out to some of my friends that are really good animators. And we're going to work on something together, and that will hopefully come out end April. But, that's a soft deadline, hopefully, depending on, when people submit their work at some point in the year. They're the main big projects for this year. So this year is more, more all in on YouTube and trying to grow my career in that direction.
That sounds awesome. That's great. Well, we're all about accountability at Motion Hatch, so the
yes,
audience can hold you accountable.
Please do it. Yeah, I know you got your mastermind program as well. I know that'd be, that's perfect for those things. So, I'm putting it. So I'm announcing it here, but
yeah,
we'll see with a big asterisk of unless it's too hard.
Yeah. So I just before we go, I just wanted to ask you a bit quickly about your equipment, because I realized that we hadn't touched on that. Just for people starting out, do you have maybe a recommendation of maybe a camera and a mic and maybe screen sharing software?
Yes, definitely. I think, I got a decent camera and a decent mic. I went overboard on production because I thought, I'm going to have the slickest YouTube channel. It's going to be great. It's going to be, I'll get some nice bokeh in the background. I spent $200 on dinosaur posters to go in my background. That's what I did. I use the Canon M50, it's an awesome camera. And I use the Rode NT SD USB mic, Rode NT USB, I think. They're great, but I definitely think don't worry about that to start with. Like I use OBS to record my screen. It's free on Windows and Mac. It works awesome. Everyone uses that. Download that. Don't worry about a camera. If you want to make sure, it's like I don't show my face in almost all of them. There's a clip of me at the end with my face, but that's one I recorded months ago. Like most of the videos, like I don't get my camera out for weeks at a time now. Getting out for this recording is probably the first I've done it this year. Yeah, download OBS, invest in a microphone before you invest in a camera because audio is far more important than video. Like people who watch any sort of stuff on YouTube, really. You think about the stuff you watch and I'm like, all right, this is like 3 pixels I'm seeing and it's, a man throwing a potato at someone. Like it's not like these are the type of things that people, will tune in for. But if the audio is crap, that's a bit more of a struggle. But even if you just got, your AirPods or, some earphones that has a microphone, like the lapelly ones on there, if you put that close to your mouth, that should be fine. Like I think just getting started is more important than, the equipment. You can figure out that later. That won't be the bottleneck for your success. It's how good of a camera you are. No one stopped watching my tutorials because my camera was too pixelated. Like they stopped watching if it's like, this is boring. Well, that's not relevant to me.
Yeah.
Technical things, the gear, don't focus on.
Definitely. I think like in terms of mics, because obviously we're doing the podcast, I know a little bit as well.
Yeah, you'd have a much better idea about mics. I just got what's going to get me a decent enough quality that I can just plug into a USB and not have to think about it.
Yeah. So in terms of like starting mics wise, because like YouTube and podcasting, similar sort of uses for mics. I think like Blue Yetis are like what people usually start with in the podcasting space. They're not like amazing. One above that would maybe you could get like a Rode Podcaster because I know that's USB, but it's good because it takes the sound away from around you and it's just quite like your voice. And then what I've got is the Rode Procaster, which is the same as a Podcaster, but it's an XLR mic. So it goes into this like Focusrite audio interface. So just a little bit more on audio if anyone's interested.
Excellent. All good tips.
Can you tell the audience where they can find you and your work and your channel, obviously?
To find me on Instagram and YouTube or BillyBilly, if you'd like. Just searching my name is probably the best way to do that. Ben Marriott. Do your best at spelling it, and you'll probably get there. It's fine. It's 2 R's and 2 T's if you're really paying attention, but it should find you there regardless.
Yeah, and you'll be able to find all of the links and stuff in the show notes as well. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Ben. This has been really awesome.
No, thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure. I had a great time.
Thanks again to Ben for coming on the show. That was a lot of fun. I think that the YouTube space in motion design is definitely going to grow. So I hope this inspired you to start your channel or also your Instagram. And as always, you can find the show notes on our website for all the links and everything we mentioned at motionhatch.com/59. If you enjoyed this episode, please do subscribe because we've got a ton of great episodes coming up for you. Whatever you're up to today, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks so much again. See ya.